Right, Dean, welcome to the High Caliber Men's Podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Should be a good conversation, I think.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I'll start with the reason why I've invited you down, which is essentially because you've been on both sides of the coin of being a vegan and being a meat eater. Most debate of what's healthier, eating meat or just being a vegan or whatever it is often done by a meat eater versus a vegan. You've been on both sides, so I wanted to get you down to simply share your story of what's it like being a vegan, what's it like being a meat eater, how did you do both, what did you find, and just go through your story essentially.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Now, most podcasts start with introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, how many dogs you had, what school did you go to, and all boring shit like that, right? I don't want to start with that. I want to start with the question everyone wants to know is what is actually healthier, being a vegan or eating meat?
Eating meat, unequivocally, without a doubt.
Okay.
100% eating meat all the way.
Good. Right. I want to rewind back to at some point you decided to go down the vegan route because you've been brought up as a meat eater, let's call it.
Yeah, standard Western diet.
Yep.
Cool. All of that entails burgers, pizzas, pasta, standard fare. What your mum brings on from shop and Mac.
Yeah, cool. So at some point you got veganism on your radar and decided to give it a go. Why? Let's start at that point of how old were you? Like where we are in your life. Why did that come about? Just give us a good insight into that.
What led me to it? It was not at all related to health. It was, I suppose, part of my spiritual journey, I guess. Around the age of 20, I'd sort of started to take meditation quite seriously. I was getting more and more into that. Obviously, if you're going to be learning about meditation, you're going to be learning about Buddhism, Hinduism, and all these great traditions related to meditation. And beyond that, you look at like the things that these people are, how they're living beyond meditation. And Buddhists, Hindus, most of them are vegetarian kind of thing. So that brought that into my awareness. So I carried on the meditation. I didn't change my diet immediately. Eventually, this led me to taking yoga classes. And that led me to thinking more about the whole Ayurvedic side of things.
Class. Have you been into that?
In previous life,
I've just started a course on that.
It's been an interest. I was quite heavily into yoga for quite a few years. And so, as part of the whole yoga thing, I think I was looking at how they live, what they say the benefits of vegetarianism and stuff was. So that led me to being vegetarian. So I was vegetarian for about a good 10 years. Right. From the age of 23 till, from 2003 until 2013, I was vegetarian.
And including what? Because obviously there's slight variances on vegetarian, isn't there? So what did you include? Eggs, fish, stuff like that, or not? Yeah,
I kept on with the with eggs and cheese. Dairy stayed in my diet, and I would occasionally eat fish while I was vegetarian. It was never like a staple, but like if someone had cooked fish or I just fancied a bit of fish, I would just go in and eat it. I didn't think too much about it, kind of thing. It was like the more I got on with my meditation practice, the more I was becoming reflective on what I was eating and my impact on animals and the idea of karmic influence and all this kind of thing.
Is that the main reason why a lot of them are vegetarian, because of the consciousness they're eating from the animals and things like that?
Are we talking about?
So like when people who are seriously into Buddhism and Hinduism, a lot of them are vegetarian for the spiritual reasons. Is that kind of reason or part of the reasons? Is that something to do with like the consciousness they're getting from the animals that they're then intaking?
People say this sort of thing that if you're eating an animal, you're also eating the pain of the animal, and the trauma of the animal, and all this kind of thing. I think that's bullshit.
Right.
And I say that as a long-term meditator. I've practiced meditation for 23 years, and I've never seen anything to support that. At all.
And you've never noticed any difference in your meditation practice in terms of how deep you can get, any benefits from it, from eating meat and not eating meat?
It's better eating meat.
Right. So your meditation's better when you eat meat?
Yes.
Right.
I feel spiritually more connected to nature while I'm eating meat.
Cool.
Because it's built into us.
Cool.
On a fundamental genetic level. We evolved eating meat. We wouldn't be the species we are without it. And to deny that aspect of your humanity is to deny nature's design in a way.
Right. Interesting. Let's jump on that. You feel your meditative practices are better eating meat than not eating meat.
Yep.
Now, let's compare the time you were not eating meat and meditating to the time when you have been eating meat and meditating.
Yep.
Is there any other differences in life that would, obviously, kind of, there's going to be a lot of differences because it's a different time of your life, but any kind of significant, noticeable changes or differences in your life which would potentially also affect the meditation?
Probably there's a lot. There's a lot's changed in my life in the last year and a half.
I know that'd be a difficult question there, but I'm curious to know, like, or maybe, you know, for example, when I was vegan, I wasn't exercising, but now, you know, that's a big influence that may help your meditative practices, or, you know, you were in a really difficult household when you were not eating meat and you were meditating, where now you're not, and your meditation practice. So I don't just want to say that your meditative practices have massively improved just because of that one change, or at least I want to try and get more accurate towards that, if that is the case. You know what I mean?
It certainly had a beneficial effect. There is a difference. The quality of meditation, in my mind, is much better with meat in my diet. I'm much calmer. I'm able to access that meditative state a lot quicker.
Cool.
And I don't feel like I have to meditate as long to get the same effect from meditation.
Cool.
Where I used to would sit for an hour, I can get the same effect in 20 minutes.
Cool. Interesting.
Kind of thing.
Interesting. Have you ever done any kind of, I don't know how accurate this would be actually, but in terms of done a week of eating meat, meditating, done a week of vegan, meditating, like short term kind of things?
Because the change was in myself was so profound when I started eating meat again. I knew instantly I just wasn't going to go back.
Right.
There was just no question of ever going back in my mind at all.
Because you felt that better, that different?
Yeah, instantaneously. I would even say that realisation hit me like a ton of bricks from the first piece of meat that went in my mouth.
Cool. Right.
After veganism.
Let's go back to the point when you was on your awareness. You're vegetarian. You've been vegetarian for what, 10 years,
Yeah,
cool.
10 years. And so I suppose I was just sort of looking deeper, and I was kind of thinking about, from an ethical standpoint and also from the kind of spiritual standpoint, is there more I can do, kind of thing. And you read like things like Yoga Sutras and various spiritual texts, and they all say the same thing, like take the meat out of your diet and there'll be spiritual benefits and there's health benefits and everything as well. So I figured it's worth a go. It's worth the exploration to see if it can work. I'm
glad you've explored it, so then I don't have to.
But I'm aware I'd fell prey to some vegan propaganda, as well. I'd been looking at footage from slaughterhouses and stuff to see where meat was coming from and stuff. And what it turns out, what I was seen as, what I was shown as footage from British slaughterhouses was actually slaughterhouses from God knows where, somewhere else entirely on the world, where they don't have the same kind of animal welfare standards as we have in this country, kind of thing. So I mistakenly believed the stuff I was seeing in those videos was what was happening in English.
I think a lot of people do get caught in that trap, because like there's quite a few people said to me, like, how can you do it? You know, they get beaten and they get this and they get tortured and all. And I'm like, for me personally, common sense would be like, surely that doesn't happen to all of them, you know? But then also, like you've just said, a lot of these videos that go viral because it's intense stuff is from back and beyond, where there's just zero regulations. Absolutely. Like realistically, in the UK, with stuff like that, I would say we're quite on it.
You know what I mean? We have some of the highest animal welfare standards on the planet.
So, you know, I think, could it be improved? Yeah. Is it up there in the top half? I'd say yeah, from what little I do know. But no, sorry, carry on. So you fell victim to the propaganda? Yeah,
definitely fell victim to some propaganda there. I didn't realise it at the time. That definitely played a factor in my decision to go vegan, because I figured if I can limit my impact on animals, then maybe I should.
Just going to grab some water, carry on, mate,
no worries. At that point as well, the health side of things had sort of appeared in my mind as well. Originally, when I went vegetarian, the whole health thing I didn't know anything about nutrition at the time, so I really didn't figure it into any of my decision when I went vegan, there was such a lot of information out there saying veganism's healthy for this, healthy for that.
Yeah.
It wasn't as popular at the time. This is 2013
Yeah.
when I went vegan. So veganism at the time wasn't even half as popular as it's become now. Do you know? And there just wasn't as much information out there in regards to it. And there wasn't as much food available in the supermarkets as what's being marketed towards vegan now, the whole plant-based thing. There was corn and Linda McCartney sausages, a lot bit of that.
I remember them.
But that was all. There was nothing.
They were actually alright, them Linda McCartney.
They tasted alright. I'd never ate them again, but they tasted alright.
They do taste nice. I remember when, it's bringing back some memories for me now, I had the old food business, and we were getting a few vegetarian, vegan type clients. We were like, what the hell can we offer them? We were like struggling. Linda McCartney sausages every meal. That's all they pretty much got. And the corn chicken nuggets and things like that, you know. But no, sorry, carry on.
So, so I decided to have a go. And it wasn't too big of a change, really. And I think I navigated the initial years pretty well. And actually, I would say the first 4 years, I actually felt really well on it.
In what regards? Like when you say well, what changes did you notice?
Energy levels were good. I lost a little bit of weight. I leaned out a bit. I just felt energy levels just felt a bit more stable and stuff. I just felt a bit more brighter and alert as well, like mentally more there. Kind of thing. So I thought, oh, this is great. This is the one. I've found the thing I needed.
At that point, did you enjoy the feeling of being a little bit different and being a little bit, you know, almost what I'm getting at here is that what I see a lot of is when some people make this change of vegan, it's almost like they're like, oh, I'm a vegan now, looking down on those that don't follow suit because it's a little bit different. Did that play a part at all?
No.
You were all right with it?
Yeah, I was. I'm quite a private person anyway, and I was never, when I was vegan, I was never a preachy sort of vegan. I kind of kept it to myself. If my friends and stuff wanted to talk about it, I would talk about it, kind of thing. If my mates were having a barbecue, they'd keep a little bit on edge of barbecue for us, where I could put me Linda McCartney sausages and that sort of thing. But it was never, I never made that big of a deal out of it, kind of thing. Mates would take the piss out of us occasionally if we go for a meal and I just have to get a veggie burger. My mates would poke fun at me and stuff like that. But other than that, I was quite low key about it. But back then, when I first went vegan, I think veganism as a whole wasn't as outspoken as what it became. The ideology was sort of there, but vegans as a whole back then, I think, were just a bit more kind of laid back about the whole thing. They weren't as preachy, they weren't as indoctrinated, they weren't as dogmatic, or as venomous as some of them are these days. You know?
It's a very passionate subject, isn't it? I can't wait for the comments on this, like really. Okay, so you found the initial kind of energy increase, bit of mental clarity, stability and energy. Any other form, like what about like, you know, performance or other things like, you know, with libido or digestion, anything like this? Any other areas affected?
Everything was fine for the first 4 years. Everything was ticking along really nicely until it wasn't.
Okay. Before we get into until it wasn't, let's go through what would be a typical day, if you can remember, of food-wise that you'd eat. Because I also want to really try and help people that are watching understand and get specific with what you done when you were a vegan, but also when you were a meat eater. Because what I see a lot of when this debate is going on, and even like the new Netflix documentary with You Are What You Eat, it's meat, omnivore and vegans. Eating meat as a phrase is very non-specific. That can include fillet steaks. It can also include Big Macs. Being vegan is quite specific. A lot more specific than just omnivore and eating meat. You know what I mean? So they're almost debating something which is very specific. Sorry, not specific with something that's very specific. So, because when someone says eating meat, I think when you hear that, you almost have an interpretation and a visualization of what that means. But if you take a line of 10 people and ask them right down, what does eating meat mean for you? They'll probably have 10 different answers, right?
Of course,
So I want to kind of get a little bit more specific. So what would a normal day for you being a vegan back then, what did that include?
It included eating an ungodly amount of food.
Yeah.
The amount of food because I've always been quite an active guy, whether it's been, as I mentioned, yoga. I was into martial arts for years, skating, skateboarding, going to the gym, climbing. I just don't stop. I'm a highly active person. So the amount of food volume I had to get through to maintain my energy levels to do this sport was absolutely unbelievable. I would be eating constantly. I didn't really have a meal time, like all day.
Just grazing all day?
All day was a meal time.
Right.
I would have meals. I would have like sort of breakfast. Sometimes I've never been a big breakfast person, but I would always have dinner, lunch.
Yeah.
So lunch, tea, dinner, and supper time meal. But I would be eating in between those meals as well, just constantly, non-stop food.
Because you felt like you needed to, wanted to?
Both.
Right.
Yeah. I was a lot more hungry then, all the time.
Really, yeah? We eat lots of like fruits, vegetables, fibre.
Yeah, loads of just fruit and veg. On top of that, things like corn things and McCartney stuff.
Yeah.
Pizzas occasionally.
Vegan pizzas.
Pasta, yeah, just cheese and tomato pizza. Oh, they're vegan things, yeah. I used to make my own pizzas and that as well. Shakes, I had the bullet thing. One of them.
Yeah.
High on protein shakes as well. I used to use hemp protein as a filler, and I'd make these crazy green shakes.
Yeah.
Choking them down twice a day, and just anything that came from plants, I would eat.
Yeah, cool. Is that as far as your kind of specificity went with your nutrition? Did you ever count calories? Did you ever track macros, anything like along those lines?
I only started doing that when my health began to fail, basically.
Cool. Let's go to that point.
Yeah. So I hit the wall about 4 years in.
Yeah.
I was doing pretty well on it. I'd lost weight. I was feeling good. I was probably the healthiest then that I've maybe ever been.
Yeah.
Looking back, because when I was vegetarian, I wasn't really paying much attention to the quality of the food I was eating. I was still very much a standard Western diet sort of guy, just without meat kind of thing. When I went vegan, and because there wasn't that many sort of vegan options around in terms of like pizzas and things like that, I had no choice but to really kind of go more into the whole foods produce side of things and eat sort of, I suppose, what you call clean.
Yeah.
And that sustained me pretty well for about 4 years. But then when I hit that wall, things really started to go downhill.
What was the first thing you noticed like?
Sports performance was a big thing. I was noticing that I was getting like delayed DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness and stuff. It was lasting 2-3 days. And then as time went on, the more I got towards what we'll call end stage veganism, before I really hit the wall, I was having DOMS that was lasting 5-6 days.
Cool. So on that point, was there any big change in your training that would maybe also contribute to DOMS?
Not at all. I was doing the same styles of things I'd always done in the same amounts.
Because I know from obviously nature of what I do with personal training, self-development, actual weight training, that DOMS often occur from a brand new stimulus.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If someone's only ever done strength training, get them going to a circuit class and they'll be in a fucking wheelchair, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there wasn't actually any change in your training, so there wasn't any new stimulus.
No new stimulus. Same forms of exercise I'd always done.
Cool.
Loads of climbing, skating, weightlifting, calisthenics mostly. Just the same things I'd always done.
Right. Interesting. And they were lasting up to 5 days.
Yeah.
That's annoying, that, isn't it? I fucking hate DOMS.
It was awful.
I hate them.
It was awful because I would be wanting to go climbing, climb 3-4 times a week, and I'd be going climbing again, still sore from the previous session, 2-3 days beforehand. And I just
frequency of training didn't change? No.
Everything was the same. I was actually, and because I was sort of training in that sore state, I was getting weaker.
Yeah.
And I was starting to see actual decreases in my performance at the climbing wall and even like lifting weights.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult position, I guess, because if you want to train, but you're still sore, you obviously pushed on through the soreness, which then affected performance, but realistically, performance was already going down because you were still sore for that long. So the only other option there is to take that extra rest, train less, and then you'll still maybe kept a bit of performance because you'll be going in without DOMs and fully recovered, but you just then train a lot less frequent. So then that's overall going to massively decrease performance anyway.
Yeah.
You're at a loss there, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. And I just didn't know what was happening. So that's when I started tracking foods and things like that. So on paper, I was kind of getting everything that it said I needed. Good amount of protein, other stuff with fibre and stuff. Fats were there.
What kind of fats were you using, if you can remember? I know it's a long time ago.
Well, all plant-based stuff, basically. I was eating like loads of hummuses and avocados and things like that nature kind of thing. Yeah. Trying to think back.
You didn't know that being low in saturated fats, surely?
Yeah, definitely.
That's the problem with what I say anyway with veganism is, firstly, a lot of them believe saturated fat is something to stay away from, but then in the nature of being vegan, it's very difficult to get a decent amount in.
As a vegan, it's difficult. You can get it in, but just because you can get it in doesn't mean your body's going to absorb it. There's such a thing as bioavailability. Humans can't digest fibre. We can't digest cellulose. You can put it in. Just because it's in doesn't mean it's going to where it needs to go. Most of it's going right back out again.
Sure. Interesting. So you started tracking?
Yeah.
And then so you started tracking, realised you kind of was getting what you, at the time, what you thought was enough in and good quantities of things.
Yep.
Then what happened? What happened from there?
Well, believe it or not, I actually tried to correct this over a 2-year period, because it was 4 years when I began to hit the wall, and I tried to make it work for a further 2 years after that.
How did you feel at that point, just to jump in again? I mean, like, surely you in that position, you're on cloud nine, you're a vegan, you're feeling great, energy's been amazing, you're 4 years deep, and then suddenly, bang, like, you're now not there. And you haven't really changed anything. I could almost imagine that being a bit of a scary place, and you're starting thinking, what the fuck's wrong with us?
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions, because by that point as well, the whole sort of veganism agenda had started to make itself a bit more known, kind of thing, and there was a lot more information coming out online, especially on the likes of YouTube and things like that, or saying veganism is the best diet because of this, and this kind of thing. And I'm watching that and thinking, well, I'm doing that, and that, and yet I'm still going downhill. So something isn't right here. So you go through the motions, you look at everything you're doing. Am I eating enough protein? Do I need more of this, more of that? Maybe if I can start supplementing stuff, and you start looking at things like plant-based omega-3s and all these other things, and you start spending an absolute fortune on supplements.
Is that what you're doing, like plant-based omega-3s and stuff?
I did. Yeah, I did.
What else? What other supplements were you taking?
Oh, hell's teeth. There's so many I tried. So many. It'd be difficult for me to round them all up. But it was plant-based omega-3s, B12 supplements, comprehensive B vitamin supplement, actually. Vitamin C, just all the basic building blocks. That you're supposed to.
That's the biggest thing for me in regards to like being a vegan. Most of them will almost agree as well. You do have to supplement, which kind of already suggests it's not enough.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's almost already, in my opinion, it's a bit flawed already, because you need to supplement. Now, let's take a traditional Western diet, which is just full of shit. They'll probably also have to supplement because it's full of shit. But what I see often in this debate is eating meat or omnivore gets tied in with the typical Western diet, but that's not necessarily good quality steak, good quality chicken, good quality whatever it might be. You know, a typical varied, balanced diet. You know.
Well, interestingly, though, what most people don't realise is your standard Western diet is essentially plant-based, because the vast bulk of people's calories come from plant-based sources.
Like what?
Well, it can be anything. Standard Western diet, a lot of people pizzas and pastas and things like that. The food volume that they're eating, the majority of the calories are coming from plant-based sources compared to the small amount of meat that they're eating. You have to switch that around. You eat more of the calories and stuff from animal sources and scale down.
You actually are right there. I've never thought of it like that. That's a good point. I've worked with thousands of people now, thousands of what I would call society.
Yeah.
They're just your average people from the street.
Yeah.
And it's a good, I like to think it's a good glimpse of what's actually going on in the world and in society. And you are right. The poor quality nutrition does come in. So the average nutrition, let's say, of the average person, I've worked with taking into consideration thousands, it is very much low protein, high processed these days, low saturated fat, probably low fiber as well.
Plant-based?
Yeah.
They're all plant-based without even realising that they're plant-based.
Mm.
They're plant-based with meat.
Yeah, with a few shitty scraps of meat thrown in. Yeah, cool. All right, so you supplement a lot. You're starting to figure this shit out, or trying to at least.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Eventually, I ended up going to the doctor.
Right.
Because I was through the floor. And I got blood tests and all this kind of thing done, and I got referred to a dietitian. Now, at that point, I've been keeping quite intensive food diaries for for quite a while. Anyway, for a long time, probably for almost the 2 years that I was on that downhill journey. And I give copies of my food diaries to the doctor, who then sent them on to a dietitian, kind of thing. And the dietitian actually, interestingly, came back. The doctor couldn't really offer any dietary advice, because doctors don't do dietary advice, and they have little to no nutritional training whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now the dietitian came back, having looked at my food diaries, and said, well, on paper, everything's there. So we don't know what the problem is. So I get blood tests done, they're checking my hormones. My hormones were all out of whack.
Were
they? SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, was through the fucking roof. That was insane. Testosterone levels weren't too bad, kind of thing, but loads of other things were out of whack. Estrogen was a bit high.
Right.
I'm probably climbing.
Climbing, what do you mean with climbing with that? Probably climbing.
Probably
climbing is increasing,
it was rising, because my body composition was shifting, and I was becoming increasingly more and more sort of skinny fat, losing muscle tissue, gaining more sort of body fat. Body fat's pro-estrogenic, as we know. So
I know from the little I touched on it in the nutrition courses I've done in the past and things, nutrition knowledge is soya can often play a part in increasing estrogen, which a lot of vegan products and foods are very much soya based.
Yeah, phytoestrogens, estrogen mimicking chemicals, plant-based ones. You're playing with fire. If you're eating soy, as a male especially, if you're eating soy products in any sort of regularity, or even at all.
I remember when, I'm going back a lot of years now, when Herbalife first came out, and I was really in this area that you're talking about now. I haven't accessed this part of my brain for a long time, so I'm not going to try and repeat what I said, but back then, I remember going through the ingredients of Herbalife, and it was like soy. It was, I think it maybe sugar after that. It was like 3 ingredients, which together was like fucking cocktail for massive increases of estrogen. And I can't remember it right now. They've probably changed it since then, no doubt.
Probably haven't.
Yeah, they probably haven't actually. Yeah,
probably haven't. It's easy money for them.
Yeah. I remember thinking, like, this is so bad. But no, sorry. So your hormones were all out of whack.
Hormones were all out of whack.
What did the doctor say?
They were absolutely mystified. They were actually suggesting they were going to have to do more tests to figure out what the actual problem was, whether it was something wrong with the pituitary glands or something, because something was knocking my hormones out of whack. And my sports performance was going down the pan. I was getting fatter. I couldn't sleep. My energy levels were just almost non-existent. My libido, worryingly, was getting less and less. And I was starting to look bad as well. Terrible, massive black circles all around my eyes. The same body composition was shifting. My mood was just not there. I just wasn't there. Difficulty concentrating on anything, which for me as a person with ADHD
you need as much concentration as you can.
Is not something I need more of. Everything you don't want to happen was beginning to happen to me, basically.
Right.
And the doctors weren't able to help.
Right.
So that's when I abandoned veganism.
Okay.
Out of sheer desperation.
Right. And you knew it was the food and veganism, not like...
I didn't know it was the food. I had suspicions, because I mean, diet underpins everything, kind of thing. And I had to sort of entertain the fact that maybe what I've been told about veganism isn't right.
And how difficult was that?
After 6 years of veganism and the previous 10 years of vegetarianism, it's quite a thing to have to take on.
Yeah.
It requires a complete 180 degree spinning mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point, I had nothing to lose. And absolutely nothing to lose. And I would know one way or the other. If I ate meat for a month, I would know one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I just had to try because the doctors weren't helping me and I was getting worse.
Do you know, or are you aware of the percentages of people that go vegan and then end up going back? Because from what I heard, it's really high.
It's really, really high.
Yeah.
Really, really high. The time limit on it seems to be about 6 years as well, interestingly.
Is it, yeah?
There's loads of famous people who are vegan or people who are vegan influencers and stuff like that. They tend to hit the 6 year mark and that's when they abandon it.
Interesting.
And that played out for me as well. I've seen some people talking about 6 years is about the amount of time that your body can sort of hold on to a lot of fat-soluble vitamins. That's the amount of time before it becomes so depleted that your health starts to get affected.
Interesting. Yeah. And again, just let's add some context to this kind of period of your life where you've been vegetarian and vegan now. I guess you were living outside of your nutrition, a normal life in regards to drinking a bit, no doubt. Do you drink? Or did
occasionally,
you?
Yeah. Just go out of weekend, go and watch a band down at the pub or not massive. You know what I mean? Just
smoking?
Never smoked.
No.
Never smoked.
So, because I'm just thinking, like, what would people sat at home watching think, oh, well, was he drinking then? Was he smoking then? Was he, what other factors have we not talked about or things that could have contributed to what we've talked about?
No adverse lifestyle practices whatsoever, apart from maybe going out drinking once or twice a month. No smoking, no drugs. Very active lifestyle.
Always hydrated.
Always hydrated. Outside as much as I possibly can.
What about stress? You know, like kind of life itself. You know, was there any, like, again, I'm really just trying to almost play a bit of devil's advocate, but at the same time, add context to it.
Yeah.
Like, let's throw someone out there. You weren't going through a divorce, or you hadn't just lost your job at all this point of you declining.
No. At the time, everything was pretty stable.
Right.
Decent job, girlfriend. Everything was ticking away quite nicely. Apart from my health, which was ticking downwards.
Right. We're talking a lot of physical. What about mental? So, how was that over this period? Like,
I remember the brain fog being the most pervasive thing.
And was that throughout? Did it start?
About the 4 year mark when it started to come in, and just the difficulty in formulating a coherent thought.
Wow.
And also being able to express those thoughts outwardly and just communicate with people. It was taking so much effort just to think and communicate, especially at the end.
Wow.
I have difficulty with communication anyway. I'm autistic.
I wouldn't say you do, mate. You're doing from class.
So I do have to concentrate quite a lot anyway. There is a medical term for that, which I can't remember because my brain doesn't work properly. But added to that, it was just horrendous. The brain fog was.
Let's go to the last day or your worst day. Yeah. What was that like? Like, you know,
like the last month, I would say, was like the worst I felt, and every day was just awful. No energy, and I was fronting, like nobody really knew how bad I felt because I was masking a lot of it, kind of thing. Because I was still very much invested in veganism as a concept. You know, I lived that way for such a long time, and I was sort of getting ready to turn my back on it, but I wasn't ready for the outside world to see this switch in me, kind of thing. So I was hiding a lot of like how bad I actually felt.
If there was any vegans in that position right now, what would you say to them?
Your diet's a problem, or at least just consider that the diet isn't everything it's all cracked up to be. Just consider it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Vegans as a whole tend to exist in a bit of an echo chamber, and they don't want to entertain anything which goes against the ideology, kind of thing. Which is what veganism is. It is now very much an ideology. It's not really based in any scientific literature. of any sort which has any kind of level of repute behind it whatsoever. It's all ideologically driven. Unfortunately for vegans, basic human biological facts and ethics don't balance out with each other. Your biology doesn't give a shit about your ethics.
I don't even want to necessarily go down the route of there is or isn't scientific support. I know you believe there isn't. I know if I've got a vegan in, they'd say, "Oh, there is."
Yeah.
I don't even want to go down that because that's the never-ending argument that I think will always just continue to the end of time.
Yeah. No.
However, what I do want to touch on is someone who has been the preacher vegan.
Yep.
I'm a vegan.
Yep.
I'm better than you. You're killing the planet. You're an evil person type attitude.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in the position that they've owned this identity, because it is an identity, isn't it?
Yep.
It's
That's why people have such a struggle letting go of it.
This is what I want to touch on.
That becomes the lens by which the world views them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Oh, that's Dean, the vegan.
Yeah. It becomes 100% part of their identity, part of their ethics, part of the politics.
Yeah.
Everything about them.
So those people, because I'm almost feeling a little bit sorry for them now in regards to when they've owned that identity that much, especially if they've been preaching, especially if they've converted a lot of other people to veganism, and now they're going to have to think, and they're having these health problems and thinking, fucking, I'm going to have to swap here. I'm going to have to go back.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to change the way I eat and stop being vegan.
Yeah.
I can almost imagine a hell of a lot of people purposely not doing that. Because it's scary to change your identity.
Yep.
I know that for a fact. I've done it many times myself and with many other clients. But then also, if they've helped other people change their identity, it's like, imagine, I say to you, right, doing weight training is the best thing in the world, let's do it. But then I stop weight training, I start running marathons.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit like, well, what he's telling me to lift weights, but now he's running marathons. So to those people, if there's people watching that are in that boat, what would you say to them in regards to their health's declining, but they've got this identity that they're probably struggling to give up?
Check your ego.
Good advice, mate.
Check your fucking ego. Just let go of it. Admit that you were wrong and move the fuck on.
Good advice.
So many people just will not admit that they were wrong, kind of thing. And it's difficult to do, especially if you've tied your entire identity and the way you've orientated yourself in the world around this ideology. It's difficult to sort of have you come back with your tail between your legs and say I was wrong. But it's vital, especially if your health is starting to decline and you're sensing it. Pay attention to it. They're strong signals from your body. Your biology is telling you something's wrong. Pay attention.
Yeah, I think it's a really good bit of advice actually in regards to your body's telling you something, because whether you eat meat or not, whether you're vegan or not, I know it's so cliche, but you have got to listen to your body. Your body will show you the signs. You know what I mean? And on that note of body showing the signs, I've realised over the last 6 months or so, delving more down the route of digestion and things like that, there's a lot of things that we kind of subtle symptoms that we'll put down to X, Y, and Z, but really there's a deeper meaning behind it, and we'll just haven't got the knowledge or awareness behind it.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so one used to be when I ate food, I'd burp after food, and I put it down to I must just get air in between my mouthfuls, and I'd burp a little bit. And my dad's always burped anyway, so it's just one of those things. It's just what I do. But that was because I didn't know burping was a symptom of low stomach acid. You know what I mean? It's a digestive issue. So I guess I want to make a point of just saying all these subtle little symptoms, whether you think they're a symptom or not, just question and look a bit further into. You know what I mean?
Listen more to your body and not the fucking YouTubers. Because your body will steer you right. Your body will always steer you right.
Good advice, mate. Good advice. So, you have decided to cut ties with being a vegan.
100%.
Yep. Moving on. What did you eat first? I want to know.
What did I eat first?
Yeah, what did you thought, right, I'm done? What did you go for?
The first piece of meat I ate was a piece of venison.
Ooh.
Off a guy I know locally who hunts. So
Lovely.
It was venison he went out and hunted himself up in Scotland.
Class.
I got it off him, fried it up. I will never, ever, ever forget that first piece of meat. Got it.
Describe it to us.
Oh, hell, stayed it like a religious experience.
Was it? Yeah.
It really, really was. I don't think there's been a point in my life where I've experienced such a flood of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. It was it was one of the biggest paradigm shifts
I'm
I've
actually
ever
really
felt.
shocked. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I hadn't red meat at this point for 16 years.
And you felt all right, like digestion-wise?
Digestion, no problems whatsoever.
Wow.
No issues. If anything, like my digestion was better than it's ever been, especially
After the period of getting back on the meat, you mean?
a little bit, yeah, but right away, like, because I've been so used to eating these giant fucking vegan meals,
Yeah.
kind of thing, to the point of like not satiation, physical fullness.
Yeah.
And after these meals, I'd be bloated, I'd be burping fat and uncomfortable, sitting belly up. Whereas I ate this venison afterwards, no gas to speak of, stomach felt flat. I wasn't physically full, but I was satiated. I totally forgot what satiation felt like.
Wow. That's insane.
I felt calm, centered, connected, happy, elated actually.
Wow.
My housemates who I lived with were in the kitchen at the time when I ate it, and they were howling with laughter at the expression on my face.
No way.
When I was eating, because I was shook, like deeply shook.
I'm mind blown at that, you know.
Like, and it was like my body was thanking me with this flood of endorphins and feel good chemicals that came in. It was like a deep and spiritual sigh of relief.
And previous to actually eating that venison, were you like excited for it, looking forward to it? Were you neutral?
I was kind of neutral.
Yeah. I'm thinking like...
Yeah, I'd opened myself up to the possibility of my diet is what's fucking my health up. And if I don't try this, I won't know one way or the other. So I have to try kind of thing. Even like, I suppose I was kind of looking at it as like a medical intervention more than anything, because my health was so fucked. So I was just open to see what would happen.
I definitely wouldn't have had the balls to go straight for venison. I probably went for something a little bit lighter.
I sort of eased in actually for a couple of weeks beforehand. I'd reintroduced a bit of fish and eggs, thinking back for a couple of weeks, but that just wasn't that did make me feel better, but the brain fog was still present. My muscles were still sore. I think if I remember rightly, I ate the fish and eggs for about 3 or 4 weeks, and that felt better, but I could tell, I could sense that something wasn't there, and I was going to have to try red meat. I remember thinking, now I think back, I remember thinking that if I can get by as vegetarian, maybe I can.
Don't have to do the full switch.
Yeah.
So I really want to home in on the feeling of that red meat, because that's something that gets a bad rap. It causes cancer and does this and does that. And that, so before you had the red meat or the venison, you were completely neutral. You weren't excited. You weren't, it was just a normal day, but the experience and effect of having it was super high, good quality feelings. Like, that is insane. That.
Yeah, it was like instant. Right away I knew.
Wow.
As soon as I ate that first mouthful, it's like a bomb went off in my head. It was like, this is it. You're never going to ever look back. Because
honestly, if you said, oh yeah, I was dead excited, I couldn't wait, I'd say, oh, that explains why you felt so good. But the fact you came in neutral, the fact that you were open to whatever, because I would actually expect a bit of like cramping or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not 16 years without red meat, and then you stick red meat in.
No problems at all.
Wow, interesting. Interesting. So you realised venison's the way forward.
Holy crap, yeah. And as sort of time went on, very quickly I'd sort of paying close attention to my body, physical sensations, the signals my body was sending me. I realised that for me personally, like, the less vegetables and fruit I ate, the better I felt, and I pretty quickly transitioned into full carnivore.
Right.
And I've been full carnivore since 2019.
Full carnivore, so not even meat eater, like typical Western.
No, I would say my diet's about 95% animal products.
So this is interesting. I didn't know this was going to come up, and I'm very interested in this area as well myself. So you've literally went from one extreme to the other.
Indeed.
You can't almost get any further in those directions. Okay, brilliant. So you started it. Let's go. You've just turned, call it meat eater. We'll put it under that category. Under that title. You just went there. What's the physical changes? What's Because previously you were pretty fucked up.
Brain fog, gone.
Right.
Within like, I would say within like 2 weeks, all that brain fog was just lifted. My energy levels started to vastly improve. The delayed onset muscle soreness stopped.
And again, just no training, stimulus change.
No
anything
training,
like that?
stimulus change. Same exact kind of things
Right, yeah.
I've been doing. Sleeping better. Joints, and I've got a congenital knee condition, and knees are always sore. That went away. Skin got better. My mood lifted, happier, more joyful, more energized, just more present, more centered, calmer. Just everything,
Wow.
everything that you want to get better.
Yeah.
That you could possibly want to get better, got better.
Wow. Wow. And what was your diet like at the time? What was a typical day of this new way of eating then?
To start with, I was still scopping in a bit of veg here and there in terms of stuff like a bit of carrot and broccoli and cauliflower and stuff. I wasn't eating. I decided to stop eating starches and stuff because I started to learn about a bit more. I'm getting stuck here.
That's
intentionally learning a bit more about nutrition, kind of thing. So I decided to stop eating starches. I hadn't eaten any grains for a long time. I'd stopped eating grains when I was vegan, actually. So they haven't been part of my diet for a long time. So yeah, just unprocessed, mostly for the most part, unprocessed meat, steaks, salmon, fish, eggs, dairy, and non-starchy veg. No grains. Yeah.
So just so people, if someone wanted to give this a go, what would be a typical day? So like meal 1, meal 2, meal 3 as an example.
I only eat 1 meal a day.
Oh, okay. There you go then. Yeah.
I eat 1 meal a day, and I usually sometimes have something as an add-on afterwards, not a meal in itself. Just.
And have you always done this since you've done the switch?
It happened naturally.
Right.
Now, I'd been into intermittent fasting while I was vegan. I've been into fasting for a very long time anyway. But I quickly noticed that because everything I was eating was so nutritionally replete and there was that much protein in my diet, I just wasn't hungry anymore.
Right. So it kind of naturally...
It just naturally occurred. Just naturally happened, yeah.
Just on the point of you were fasting when you were vegan, if we go back there for a minute.
Yeah.
I know obviously you said you were kind of eating all day as well. Is that kind of... how did the fasting fit in with you also eating all day as well?
Yeah, I like the fasting thing came about. I mean, the health benefits of fasting are well reported for a very long time, but also the spiritual side of it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think I just needed to give my stomach a rest from trying to digest all this.
So it wasn't a common daily thing you'd done when you were vegan. It was just every now and again.
I wasn't. Well, initially with fasting, I would occasionally throw in the odd 24, 48, 72-hour fast just because I felt like I needed it. Just give my stomach a rest.
All right.
And it wasn't, I suppose, it was 2 years. It was actually, it was in the final 2 years of my veganism when I started doing more focused intermittent fasting. Yeah.
Do you think the intermittent fasting played a part in your decline?
No, not at all.
No?
No. If anything, it helped heal my stomach quite a bit. Just that space in the timeline of the day, just where my stomach isn't digesting constantly. Do you know what I mean? I think it helped improve my digestion, helped relieve some of the bloat and stuff that I had.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so let's say go back to that point where you just turned back to venison and all that. What was a typical day, meal 1, 2, 3, as an example, like at that point?
Yeah, it'd be a big giant slab of venison.
What, first thing in the morning? Or like first meal?
No, first meal would usually be my biggest meal. So it's usually around like a late lunchtime sort of meal. It'd be like venison with some veg or something, or steak and eggs, or I'd make like just fry up some mince and throw some eggs in that. Very simple stuff. I made an effort to simplify my foods. As a vegan, you're eating a vast array of fruit and veg from all 4 corners of the globe. And just all these different taste combinations and stuff. And I wanted to simplify.
I bet.
Yeah, I wanted to simplify. And I figured if I can get much or more enjoyment from eating steak and eggs than I could from eating a plate of bloody vegetables that's come from all over the world, then that would be beneficial, kind of thing. Plus, I don't like cooking.
Yeah.
So if I can fry up a steak and eggs in 6 minutes and be done, happy with it.
Class. So pretty much meat predominant, eggs, bit of fish, not much veg.
No milk.
Carbs.
Carbs initially were only coming from I'd eat some apples, banana, and just the carbs I was getting from the non-starchy veg, basically.
How did carbs play a role when you were vegan?
Well, doing everything. It was 100% of my diet was basically carbs. Christ. Yeah.
Okay. So you naturally moved on from the kind of, let's say, 2-3 meals a day to now 1 meal a day.
Yep.
And what's that 1 meal like for you?
It's not actually as big as what you'd think. At this point, because I've been carnivore since 2019, I've got tremendously good fat adaptation sort of thing. So my meal, I've never tracked it for ages, but I would assume I'm not eating any more than sort of 1,800 calories a day.
Yeah.
And I'm a highly active person.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Typical meal, again, same stuff. Steak and eggs, maybe scooping a bit of fish afterwards, a packet of prosciutto, some salami or something. Do you know what I mean? Just basic.
Yeah.
Basic meat.
Cool. Any noticeable changes since kind of, obviously you were feeling terrible, which made you do the initial change. From the initial change to now, what physical changes, mental changes, any noticeable changes like that?
As far as my sort of physical health and that goes, I'm probably in the best shape of my life now at 43 than I've ever been.
Are you 43?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, mate, I didn't know that.
I'll be 44 this year.
Go on, lad.
I'm performing better at the climb wall than I've ever done. I'm lifting, I'm running, I'm out rucking backpacks, I'm climbing fells. I'm a highly active person. I have a high demand for energy, and I get everything I need from 1 meal a day.
Class. It's obviously no doubt worth pointing out. And really, I'm just trying to really play the role of what people are going to be thinking behind the scenes. Your climbing performance will naturally increase the longer you do it as well.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not just because you eat venison, you're fucking sick climber. If I start eating venison, am I going to be a sick climber? Probably not. So it's worth probably pointing out that. But at the same time, is there any kind of negative drawback, any kind of holes you can pick with what you're currently doing at the moment that you could maybe want to improve on?
Not
so now
really.
I'll get you to play devil's advocate with you.
I mean, the way I eat isn't going to be for everybody, kind of thing. So a lot of people are much more kind of food orientated than I am. I don't like cooking, kind of thing. So if I can just bang out a steak and eggs and be done with it for the day, I'm happy.
What's your food bill like? And
fine, I think I spend about £65 a week on average, kind of thing, which isn't a tremendous amount.
The carnivore side of things, it's been on my radar for a long time. I've not fully committed. I've took that wave, I've moved that end of the scale a little bit more. For me personally, I've always had the attitude of balance is best. If there's one extreme and the other, the sweet spot's usually in the middle. I've often said the best meal anyone could ever have is a big, good, hearty, colourful, nutritious, nutrient-dense vegan meal with a big steak planked on top. And you're getting best of all worlds. However, the more I do look into this, the carnivore side of things, the more I'm like, I actually feel like I would like that and feel good off it.
The problem with plants is that they don't want to be eaten. They're chock full of toxic molecules to protect themselves with, known as anti-nutrients. Plants can defend themselves in two ways. They can grow thorns and barbs and spikes, or they can concentrate high amounts of poisons in the leaves and the stems and the seeds. And the plants that we eat, the ones without the thorns, have the high amounts of anti-nutrients concentrated in them. The only sort of plant that's designed to be eaten is really fruit. But even the fruit that we eat nowadays, it's all been cultivated and manipulated to vastly overproduce fructose and sugar at the cost of any nutritional value and fibre that used to be in the fruit, kind of thing. None of the vegetables and fruit that people eat nowadays exist anywhere in the wild in their current form. They're all cultivars, every single one of them.
This is a good area to jump into because I don't know too much about it. In regards to production of meat, if you're know something about the production of plants, you obviously do. Tell us a little bit more about that. Educate me in regards to what you were just talking about there.
Well, the point was anti-nutrients. So you're talking about your balanced meal, and anti-nutrients literally block the absorption of other nutrients that bind to them and carry them out your system. So if you're eating, like you say, a big plate of veg with a steak plonked on top, you're actually losing some of the nutritional value from the steak by adding those plants, because the anti-nutrient compounds in those plant foods are going to bind to the nutrients that you found in the steak and carry it right out of you. So you're actually lowering the nutritional value of your steak by adding plants to it.
Right. Cool. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's play devil's advocate on the steak side of things. Cows eating poor quality food, getting pumped with hormones, the typical kind of things you see on the Netflix programs of Seaspiracy and Cowspiracy and all this other stuff. How does that play a part in the meat eating?
In this country, so a lot of people equate the way Americans do things with their cattle as the same as the way we do things over here.
That is one thing I noticed. A lot of these programs are American.
Yeah.
And I'm
like as we mentioned earlier, their food safety standards and animal welfare standards are vastly below what they are in this country. What they feed the cows in this country is grass. All the beef in this country is grass-fed. All of it. The hormones that they use for cows and stuff, strictly regulated. We have some of the healthiest cattle on the planet. People like in America and stuff, they pay a premium for the sort of meat that we take for granted in this country.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't know that. Yeah. Interesting.
Vegans will bang on that, cows are supplemented with B12 and things like that.
Yeah.
I've talked to farmers, and none of the farmers I talked to about this have ever supplemented the cows with B12, and nor do they know any of the farmers do it. It only happens in parts of the world where the cows are being fed in areas where the soils are low in cobalt, because cobalt's required to synthesize B12.
Right.
So if you're grazing cattle in desert, arid lands where there's no cobalt in the soil hardly, then they need to supplement it. We don't have that problem in this country.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And most of our, I again haven't really looked, but as far as I'm aware, most of our beef on the shelves in supermarkets here is British.
Yep, 100%.
Okay. Or maybe Irish.
Irish, yeah. Scottish, sometimes you see it labelled with a Scottish label as well. Yeah. It's all from this island, or possibly just across the water in Ireland.
What about, one thing I thought of just then was, where was I going with this? I had a really good question. Starting to get tired now.
We were talking about the balance thing.
I was going to ask, ethics and morals in regards to eating meat and not eating meat. So obviously when you were vegan, you were very much, I don't want to eat animals because of animals' lives.
Yeah.
Where do you stand now, and what was the change?
Yeah, it was just partly spiritual reasons. I suppose I was quite young at the time when I first went vegetarian. I was in my early 20s. I was that sort of age, you're exploring ethics, morals. You're figuring out who you're going to be, the kind of thing. But eventually, I guess I come around, like I said before, human biology and ethics don't mesh.
Yeah.
We have this strange tendency to try and apply ephemeral human ethics to universal concepts as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Vegans won't like this, but the universe designed humans to eat meat. We wouldn't be who we are if we didn't eat it. Now, is it immoral to eat meat? I don't believe so. I think where people can take exception is the treatment of the animal prior to it arriving on your plate.
I think everyone agrees. Cows getting fucking punched in the head and blah, blah. Just never is a good thing, and we don't ever want to hope that happens, but unfortunately it does. That's the world we live in. What about... I'm losing my train of thought now. Need some more water. Grab some of it. I thought something really good.
I just don't think it makes any sense to go against nature. I think anybody that tries to go against nature will lose every time. And nature decided long before humans were around that life eats life.
Cool. I'm going to start making notes so I don't forget. Let's say, just to really get your opinion on some popular arguments then against kind of the meat versus vegan. Thousands and thousands of years ago, we didn't eat meat, or did we?
We've always eaten meat.
So obviously there's a common, famine and feast of cavemen, they go and catch a tiger, a lion, a beast, or whatever. They feast and then the famine. Some people argue, before that, they only had berries and plants. Is that true? Is that accurate? What's your thought?
Well, so people can Google this. You can look up stable fossil isotope testing.
Say that one more time.
Stable fossil isotope testing in regards to like human nutrition. And what those stable fossil isotopes show, not just from our modern species but pre-humans, is that animals typically made up about 75 to 80% of the diet. You know, and you can even consider things like, have you ever seen a cave painting of someone digging up a turnip?
Because the cave paintings are always kill animals.
They're all animals and hunting scenes.
Interesting. That's very. I like that. I like that a lot. I guess I don't know. Has there been? Well, farming's more of a modern thing, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, about 10,000 years old.
So one thing I was going to comment on is my own opinion on eating animals, because I am a bit of an animal lover, I must say.
I am too. 100%. For instance, I don't buy leather. I only eat animals. Good. If I can avoid sort of other animal products, then I will. I don't buy leather. I won't buy anything that's been tested on animals. You know, you can still make ethical choices. Even though you're eating animals.
No fur coats.
No, nothing like that. No.
Yeah, cool.
I don't think I'd suit one anyway.
For me, eating cows, sheep, stuff like that. I view it as a food chain thing. We're the more advanced species. We're the species that has to literally live a fucking busy life. Sheep their life is eating. Cows, they just eat. Like they don't have life to live. Really, when compared to
the
us,
absolute
we've got
manic
jobs
sort of lives that we live.
Like they're a cow's life, a sheep's life, etc. Their life is to reproduce. That's as far as it goes, almost.
I tend to view it all more of you say food chain. I see it more of a food circle, and everything's got its part around the circle. Everything's dependent on each other thing, and I personally don't see myself as being above any other creature. We're all just here, existing as the universe decided we should be.
I like it,
kind of thing. Some of us carnivores. We've got to eat meat in order to keep living.
Would there be, because there's a big push now, climate change, everyone needs to be a vegan. Big push. What's your thoughts on that if it happens?
That big push is mostly being done by corporate interests who are just trying to make bank.
Vegan
foods are quick to produce and easy to produce, and they can charge quite a high amount for a lot of them, kind of thing. Depends how conspiratorial you want to get.
Let's go there, always.
When you've got a population of people who are sick, full of brain fog, can't concentrate, are physically weakened, they're more pliable and more easily controlled.
And the more money they earn governments compared to healthy, well-capable, self-sufficient people. Let's say if the world was to turn carnivore, do you think that would be able to be done?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It probably could, because, I mean, let's think about how many calories is in a cow. Thousands and thousands and thousands of calories in a cow, and it'll stand in a field, potter about all day, eating its grass. And then you think of the equal amount of calories that have got to come from monocrop fields. That's massive. The space required for that is huge, kind of thing.
I kind of just got the answer as you started talking. I was thinking, if you actually, and would never really probably be able to do it, but done what you're saying in terms of adding up all the calories from cows, I would almost say it probably is enough to feed humans, but humans are greedy cunts that don't want to that just want to indulge in overeating.
Well, I think,
and then that's where it's out of balance.
well, it is. People do want to indulge, but I think a lot of why people indulge is because they've experienced kind of metabolic dysfunction and they've got no control over their appetite, kind of thing. I don't really. I'll indulge occasionally when there's a special cause for it, but I don't have the urge to go out there and indulge on chocolate, or buy pizzas, or anything, any of that shit, because my hunger hormonal systems are completely under my control. Everything's balanced.
I'm quite passionate in this area of what we're talking about now in regards to controlling your own kind of appetite and your relationship with food and all this sort of stuff. And it's something I see a hell of a lot of. Like, we don't get to, especially in schools, we don't get taught how to have a good relationship with food. We don't get taught that food is often used as a comfort for when you're in some form of internal pain and you're just dealing with fucking stresses of life. You don't get taught that, kind of eating shit quality food is not going to fill you up, and then you're going to want to eat more of it, but then you're consuming so many calories, and compared to eating good quality food, it's going to fill you up more and satiate you and all this. But then from a mental aspect as well, in regards to, because I heard, where was it from now? Can't remember exactly, that they're linking now, I don't want to say something that isn't accurate, but along the lines of they're linking, I was actually when my friend Dom came in, and he's like a digestion expert, he came in and done a seminar for me and the clients, and he was saying they were linking now social anxiety to a imbalance in hormone, something along those lines. Something along those lines. But pretty much food, digestion is now affecting the brain. And then it really raised the question to me of who's actually in charge. Is it the brain or is it the gut? Because the brain sends messages downwards.
It's a delicate balance. They're both in charge.
Right. Because what the way he explained it, again, I'm really trying to recall information here when I'm tired, but I mean, it was the brain sends messages to pretty much everywhere in the body. But the gut sends messages to the brain. The brain doesn't send messages to the gut, does he?
Not that I'm aware. The gut sends messages to the brain.
So that's where I'm getting to. So who's in charge? Is it the gut, or is it is it the brain that's got the social anxiety, and that's what's setting it off as one example of many different things you could fill that blank with? Or is it the gut that's got the issue and it's coming out through the brain as social anxiety? You know what I mean? Really, really interesting stuff.
Like the mental effects of like gut dysbiosis are real. If your guts aren't functioning properly, if you're got leaky gut, or even if you've got like fungal infection in there or something like that, it will affect your mood and your ability to function. 100%.
Yeah. That's a very interesting topic, which I'm interested to delve into. So, carnivore then. If I was to give it a go, where would I start?
Just stop eating plants.
Really? All veg, no veg?
No veg.
No veg.
You maybe get away with like a little bit of sauerkraut or something.
Right. And why is that again? Why is there no veg?
Basically because of the anti-nutrient content. Most people who go carnivore just find really quickly that they just feel better. They might, you might think that they don't really have anything to correct until you've corrected it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I've no doubt in my mind that you feel fucking good in your body. Physically fit dude. You're interested in optimization.
Very.
Carnivore's the one. For me, it is the most biologically appropriate way for humans to eat. Kind of thing.
Is there a limit of?
You don't have to go full.
Yeah.
All veg out. As a percentage value, you'd be looking to have 80% of your diet as meat, and then 20% from plants.
Meat being a variety or predominantly red?
Anything.
Right.
Anything. But probably predominantly red, because the red meat is your most nutritionally complete.
Yeah. I did actually think carnivore was red, pretty much.
Right. Okay.
So it's almost like
there are people who do it that way. Jordan Peterson's a bad example.
Him and his daughter, their journey and their story has been fascinating to me. I've really kind of paid a bit of attention to that, which I do. I'm careful where to put my attention. That is something I picked my ears up like to it. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. I think that's a good end.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say, mention, Anything you want to, topics you want to talk about that you really want to cover?
Well, people can reach out to me if they want.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't know, I do have a nutritionist qualification, so I do sort of know what I'm talking about.
Let's talk about that, because you, to a lot, you're not. It's not your profession.
Not at the moment.
Not your profession. No. And I think with this area as well, it's always good to realise why. Well, firstly, why I brought you on. You've got experience, first-hand experience in the fields.
Yep.
No pun intended of veganism and carnivore now, which I wasn't aware of. In my mind, it's just meat eating, So, which is again a big, broad topic and can have a lot of interpretations. So, not only have you got the experience, you've got qualification. Because I think a lot of people will almost disregard someone's story, advice, etc. Like, if let's say you didn't have a qualification, he fucking knows that, he's not qualified. Yeah. But then, if you only had a qualification and no experience, I would argue that's even the worst. That's someone who's less credible.
Yeah.
So I literally brought you on based on experience and you walking the walk.
Yeah.
But you're saying you obviously got qualification as well.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So people can find me on your they can reach out to me. The only social media I have at the moment is Instagram, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to have that for, because I fucking hate social media. But if people want to ask me about carnivore diet, biologically appropriate eating, healthy lifestyle.
Is that the new term, biologically appropriate eating?
It's one I like. It's one I've sort of adopted for myself, because people don't realise there is a specific way humans are supposed to eat, kind of thing. And if you eat that way, you'll become the best version of yourself that you can be.
And just to wrap it up, this would work, in your opinion, for young, old, fat, skinny, tall, small,
everybody,
white, black, blah, blah.
I've helped a number of people with a number of medical complaints, and they've seen almost total remission from all of them.
Like what? Give us some details.
I'll use my mother as an example. Now, my mum had ate a predominantly vegetarian diet her whole life, as long as I've known her, 43 years, kind of thing. She'd eat fish on that occasion, but I've never ever see her eat red meat. Well, she ended up developing fibromyalgia and to the ME.
I'm clients with both of those.
And her entire life fell apart. My mum went from being a very active, outdoorsy sort of person. I was out riding bikes and stuff. She was a carer, very physical job. Walking out of wheelchairs all the time and everything like that. To the point where she actually nearly had to get a wheelchair. She had to retire early because she couldn't do work anymore. She couldn't go for. She'd struggle to go shopping. She struggled to clean the house. She'd clean the house and then she'd be wiped out for a day, kind of thing. She had no life whatsoever. I got her onto carnivore. And she'd suffered this way for about 15 or 16 years. I'd finished my nutritional training and everything. I got her onto carnivore with quite a bit of cajoling.
I was going to say, I bet that wasn't easy.
And she's got most of her life back. She's off any medications that she was taking for 15 odd years. All of them have stopped.
And these were medications for the fibro and ME?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's off all of them, and now she's living her best life out in Spain with my dad.
Class.
And they're out biking again. Mum's got a life.
How old is your mum?
She'll be 72.
Wow.
72, 75.
Class.
Before I put her on this diet, because she wasn't able to exercise or anything anymore, she gained loads of weight. She was pushing, she's quite small, my mum.
Yeah.
She was pushing 12.5 stone, and she now weighs in at 9, which is the same she weighed when she was like 18, 19, she tells me.
Wow.
So I think.
Does she fast at all?
Yeah, intermittent fasting and carnivore diet.
Yeah, cool. I'm delving into the fasting area as well. I'm going to attempt a 7-day fast soon enough.
Cool.
Been looking at really prolonged fast, 7, 14, 21. I watched a documentary with two brothers, I think from Australia, they done like a 40-day, 20 just water, 20 just juicing. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in terms of healing long-term chronic illnesses and diseases and stuff. Like absolutely insane.
There's a lot of hormonal things happen to your body that only occur when you're in a fasted state. And humans are supposed to fast. It's like you mentioned before, feast and famine. And these processes will not kick in unless you're in a fasted state. People mistakenly, your guts rumble when you're hungry. That's not a signal that you're hungry. I can't remember the name of the response it is, but that's your gut cleaning itself.
Autophagy?
No, that's a different thing. But it's a physical happening in the gut, where essentially your gut's kind of squeezing itself like a toothpaste tube to get all the undigested things out your stomach and dead bacteria and stuff out your stomach. But that only happens when you haven't eaten for a certain amount of time, kind of thing. And autophagy doesn't kick in until you've like in a fasted state. You get like a big, massive dump of human growth hormone after like 72 hours of fasting. Massive dump. And that's it. To preserve muscle mass. Kind of thing, because your body wants you to go out and hunt food, kind of thing. So your body wants to hold on to muscle mass for as long as you possibly can. So it doesn't make any sense to break it down. So it's
interesting.
Big dump of
in regards to helping people with the carnivore, then let's quickly delve in. I know we were going to wrap it up, but it's a good topic. What other things have you experienced with people you've worked with?
So there was another lass, chronic migraines, and she'd been signed off work sick for 4 months. And
with these migraines?
Sorry?
Because of the migraines?
Because of the migraines. Actually to the point of verging on cluster headaches. Where like she was like rendered incapable, and she'd basically been having a constant migraine for about 4 months, and she was an absolute shadow of herself. Like there was nothing left of her. Got her on to Carnivore. Got to do some fasting, supplement some electrolytes and stuff like that. Back to work within, I think it was like 6 weeks.
Wow. Was it from her, not probably, I'm going to presume, having a typical Western diet, was it an overnight change of Carnivore from day to tomorrow?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
A big thing at the point for her was just to get her eating again, because she was so absolutely underneath this with the migraine. She was incapable of doing stuff for herself. She didn't want to eat. She had no appetite whatsoever. She was just gone. We got her back to her. I had my mother's friend, again with ME. She had been steadily gaining weight and again not able to get out the house very much. I went around, sorted her out, dialed the diet in for her requirements, kind of thing, supplements she might need on top of that and everything like that. And I bumped into her in town 3 weeks after I'd seen her. She looked like a different person. The colour in her face was unbelievable. And she'd lost weight in that 3 weeks. And she was just potting about around town, carrying shopping bags. And just getting on with her life in a way that she hadn't been able to do for years.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have a bit more of a discussion about this, like, because there's a few people in my mind I can already think of which have... Is it... I'm presuming, well, from what I've heard and also from what you're saying, it's predominantly autoimmune conditions that it benefits. I can think of a couple of clients straight away. They've got autoimmune conditions. I have pushed them towards a fasting. I said, go and binge watch this shit because it could be a thing. But that linked with an addition to the carnivore, you think's
100%. I think a lot of autoimmune conditions can be related directly to these anti-nutrients in plants we were talking about before.
I'm going to look into that.
Things like oxalates, lectins, phytates.
So this stuff,
there's a long list of them.
And so this stuff is in like vegetables I eat, like broccoli, carrots, peppers, onions, green beans, like all these different typical common veg.
Yeah, absolutely full of them. The plants don't want to be eaten. They've got to protect themselves somehow. So they create these poisons and toxins.
It is interesting that, because when you look at when you look at most things in life, they do have a self-preservating mechanism.
Yeah, of course.
Trees, mushrooms, animals.
Yeah, everything. Everything protects itself. Everything wants to live. Nothing wants to die.
I guess then, again, just to play devil's advocate, what does the animals do? But then that's just, I guess there'd be a physical fight to protect themselves.
Yeah. Cows have got horns. Bloody sheep will headbutt you.
Fucking right, yeah. I've always wondered, like, I've always thought, like, when you're on the fells and there's all sheep around you, I've always thought, if these turned around now and started attacking me, I'd be fucked.
That's why sheep all look the same. It's a survival strategy, because one individual can't be picked out of a herd then.
Wow.
So their kind of part of their survival strategy is how they look.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Right. On that note, we'll wrap it up there. So, cool. Dean, thank you very much. I'll put all your details below if anyone wants to contact you.
Yeah, please if anybody wants to shout me for the crack, ask me any questions at all about carnivore diet, anti-nutrients, toxins in plants, any of that stuff, give me a shout. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Class.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, mate.
No worries. Thank you.
Well.